Okay, let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready Set Gemini podcast. My name is Dan Mora, and across from me, my co-host.
It's Frank Smithson over here.
Yeah, so we are doing podcasts today on companies leaving California. This is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was fantastic. Did a cheer game, and then I went deer hunting, which was super fun. I got a special tag that allows me to hunt during the rut, so that was pretty fantastic. Saw probably 10 deer. One would have been great to harvest, but I thought it was smaller than what it actually was. I started recording it, kind of just admiring it, and I was like, oh, that thing's like totally good to go. And sure enough, as soon as I put my phone down, it like ran by and gave me a perfect opportunity, and it just took off. And I moved later in the day, and I got a chance to set up a ground blind where I took this like bush, chopped it down, and had it in front of me for a cover. And a little tiny deer, must have just left its mom, was hanging out like 15 yards away from me and started getting closer and closer, hopped over this log and literally got within 5 feet. And it was eating off of the bush that was my little ground blind. So it was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
So I left the house at 3 a.m, got home at like 3:30. It was a long, productive day out in the woods.
Sweet.
Clears your mind.
Yes.
Makes you forget all the craziness that's going on in the world.
Yes.
How about you? How was your weekend?
Good. My brother was in town, so I got to hang out with him. We went and played airsoft with my boys, and that's fun. That's
Nice.
pretty fun.
Sounds interesting. I used to do paintball, but airsoft seems like the thing nowadays.
It's fun. It's fun. It's it's fun. It's good times. Shoot little kids and
Oh, that sounds great.
I mean, it hurts too. You know it when you get shot. You're like,
Yeah.
ow, ow. And there's some dudes out there with dudes and gals with some high power. You know, they have pressurized pressure tanks, and it hurts.
Yeah.
Like literally have a bone bruise on my pinky. It hurts.
Yeah, that sounds
The knuckles are awful.
Yeah.
Got to get some special gloves.
Yeah. Some mechanics gloves, or I'm sure they make some airsoft gloves specific.
Probably. Yeah.
I like geeking out on this stuff. Like if I got into airsoft, it would be way too expensive because I'd like be doing research forever and buying the most expensive stuff.
Yeah. So, California companies leaving California headquarters. So this is an article by the San Francisco Chronicle, and this is a thing. And in fact, in my research, the population of California, for the first time since 1900, since recorded, at least from 1900 recorded population growth in California, it reduced. There was no growth and reduction in population in 2021.
Reduction in population. So how does that have correlation to the companies leaving?
Oh, I kind of think it's one and the same, you know.
Okay.
I think the reason that companies are leaving is, and this article says it, is, and there's a research group out of San Francisco that put out a report. They said that regulation, taxes, and cost of living are the biggest things, and they also point to the social regulations, passing laws requiring more representation of women and people from diverse backgrounds on corporate boards. Both efforts, though, were declared unconstitutional by state judges. So that's an interesting. But I think that's why families are leaving California too. At least that's my. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Friends, family that have left the state, and
I do.
Usually that's what comes up.
Yeah, one of my buddies, some people may know him in the industry, Nick Fott. He's the owner or head of Equicopy, and he moved out to Idaho. And I had another buddy, good friend of mine for a long time, moved to Texas.
Yeah.
So now I'm just solo kicking it, me and you, Dan.
So this report too is this report is pointing that the innovation, not just the corporate, or the state revenue that's leaving. There's concern over that, but the innovation is leaving. And I'm aware there's a couple of tech hubs in the United States that have just grown tremendously. I think in North Carolina and then Austin in the last decade or so, for sure. What does this mean? What does this mean to workers' compensation?
Yeah. If we're losing the tech companies, and then in addition to that, we're also seeing like massive layoffs going on in the tech world right now. Twitter just dropped 3,700 employees. Meta just announced they're going to do some major layoffs.
Yeah.
In the tech sector specifically, I'm curious what that's going to look like in the future. Like the cost for engineers has always been pretty high. I'm wondering if things are changing, if kind of entering a new world order where that's maybe becoming more normalized.
Normalized.
Like that.
Yeah,
although it's a really difficult, profession. Think of an author. There's millions of them out there, but there's only a handful of good ones. So you can definitely see the difference between a good engineer and a poor engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, California's been able to retain all the great ones in the world, right? So yeah, if that's changing, I am curious what that's going to look like.
Yeah, we talked about California being recession proof, and I think everybody would agree we're in the middle of a recession of sorts. What does this mean to workers' compensation? And traditionally, at least in my lifetime in workers' compensation, and a little bit of study from the past, that the recessions don't affect workers' compensation as much as they do other areas of the economy. And we asked the natural question, why? And we put on our amateur psychologist hats, and you have folks that are lost their job per se, still live in California. There's the family connection to California. I know that's a huge reason why I wouldn't leave California, just my family here. So what do? They lost a job. They're maybe more inclined to file a claim for injury.
Yeah. So even when the jobs go down, the workers' compensation claims could potentially go up to offset that.
Right.
If we're seeing population reduction, period,
Mm-hmm.
now that's a little bit of a different story, right?
Right. That's a concern.
There's less people. The people that would have otherwise filed are now not even here to do so.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, workers' compensation and tech, I typically don't think of those two things correlating.
Except manufacturing. Like there still is manufacturing, a lot of manufacturing in tech.
Like semiconductor chip.
But even Tesla, the giant plant in Fremont, this article pointed out that they employ 10,000 people in Fremont, and that has expanded.
The NUMMI plant, yeah.
Right. So there is manufacturing, and we interviewed a guy from TSI Semiconductors here in Roseville, and they still manufacture chips in locally here. Intel manufacturing chips. So in tech, you still have manufacturing, I think.
Gotcha. I'm curious from a percentage perspective what that looks like compared to other manufacturing type gigs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is an interesting.
And when we say companies are leaving, did the article specify if it was specifically like the tech industry, or is it all industries?
It did. Okay, so yeah, good question. And the article did point out that these are headquarters. So they've tracked the headquarters moving, and it was 11 out of the top Fortune 1000 companies in the past. 11 companies with their headquarters in California of the top Fortune 1000 companies in the past 3 years have moved, including McKesson, Charles Schwab. And then from 2018 to 2021, LA County saw more companies take flight, with 80 companies leaving the Los Angeles County, and then San Francisco, which lost 52 companies headquartered. So that's headquartered, right? You have headquartered jobs, you have administrative jobs that are possibly leaving the state. But then again, you have Tesla leave the state, but they still have a huge manufacturing plant in Fremont.
I wonder how much. So COVID was a big catalyst for remote work.
Yeah.
And I wonder if with the remote work, they can retain the talent from the people that are in San Francisco, and then they can go. But I guess a lot of those people that can make Bay Area money, if they can work remote as well and live in another state, they could basically have an experience where it feels like they're doubling their income,
Huge,
right?
huge.
I think we talked about it on a previous show. Buddy in Idaho was paying $100 a month for gas, electricity, and garbage and water all combined.
Wow.
My electricity bill was $815.
Oh my God.
So that's more than a doubling effect, right?
So you were talking earlier about the social reasons for people leaving, and this article is interesting. It just talks about the social divide. Doesn't really doesn't say specifically that people that don't agree with regulation, don't agree with lower taxes, these are not companies, but people, cost of living, but then the social thing, again, with regulatory changes that are affecting social aspects, passing laws to require more representation of women, people from diverse backgrounds on corporate boards. I think that's at least when I talk to my friends and family that have left the state, that's usually why they leave. It's not really because the companies are leaving. I think it's an interesting point that shouldn't be overlooked, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think some people I know, I think it's a combination between work and social, and they're very vocal about it on social media, at least.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm talking about a small representation of people that I know that have actually moved. Most people that I know are still here.
Yeah, it's a little different in my circles. I would say that it was my chiropractor that was telling me like 20% of his patients, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think an interesting question that we have is, you know, what does that mean for workers? And like we said, you know, the workers are probably staying minus the population loss of these companies, minus people leaving for social reasons for the most part. And like Tesla, they have all their workers, or a lot of their workers in Fremont. And the question was, well, how does this affect like the laws and these employees? Well, the employees are under the California umbrella. So whether the company's in Texas, the employee is covered by the California law. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. I think some of our audience would be wondering that.
So even if they're out of state, but they're working for a California company, then they're...
No.
Oh, sorry. If they're in California, but they're working for a company that's out of state,
Correct.
They're still employed in California, so they have to follow those laws. Yes, and the exact opposite is true. I know we have individuals that are like really hoping to capitalize on the benefits that California gives, for example, maternity leave, but other states don't have those perks, right?
Right.
So I'm sure there's some differences in the work comp laws. If they were to leave, the people that are actually leaving, I wonder if they know what they're getting into in those types of laws.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting topic. So we're excited to hear from our audience. So please give us your feedback, your likes, your comments, and subscribe.
Yeah. Let us know your experiences. It'd be great.
Definitely. All right. Well, that'll wrap us up. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Dan.